Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Why Bricsys, Why BricsCAD session. So what I thought it would be nice to do is bring some folks up here who are either recent converts to BricsCAD, folks that have a background in the Autodesk world, and in the case of Mikhail, someone who is a Linux user who is very, very excited to use Linux-based BricsCAD in his architectural practice. So I guess we'll start with you, Mikhail, in terms of your feelings. Why? Of all the solutions that are out there in the market today, why do you and your team choose to use BricsCAD?
Well, actually, I think BricsCAD kind of came to me as the solution. I normally don't speak about applications. I'd rather speak about workflow. And I think during maybe 2005, 2006, I started to build a workflow. And it turned out to be a good alternative to do it on the Linux platform. And there was one really important missing piece, and I think that BricsCAD filled that missing piece. It was the missing piece. So I tried it out in 2010, I think. And then I made my current employer, which was one of the largest architects firms in Sweden, buy a license, and I used it because the 3D engine was superb compared to the competition. To review some projects, I was working for Tetra Pak at the moment, and then later on for ASEA Brown Boveri to do some industrial development projects. And then in 2013, we founded Open Studio, which is my current practice, and we started using BricsCAD as our main tool, and it's been our main tool for drawing work and modeling since then. So we're pretty depending on BricsCAD as our main tool in our workflow. So I'd say that's the simple reason why.
Excellent. Well, let's move on, and we'll cycle back around. So the second person I'd like to introduce is Mr. Robert Greene. He is the ultimate expert when it comes to administering CAD systems. You may have read some of his books and articles published in Catalyst magazine and the CAD Manager column. And I've always associated Robert with Autodesk. Sorry. But it's just the place where you were, and we invited him to come visit us earlier this year, and Robert spent some time, and I think he was a little bit surprised. But just recently, we've had the opportunity to bring you back again. What have you learned about Bricsys, and what is it that makes you excited about BricsCAD?
I guess for me, what I've done over the years is to benchmark different compatible systems against each other. So it started out with AutoCAD LT, and then a variety of different compatible applications and such. And over the years, Bricsys has clearly become more compliant, more compatible. But for what I've really noticed in the last year or so is the developmental support. A lot of my clients they essentially use AutoCAD in a very vanilla format, but they customize it and lay their particular solutions and workflows on top of it. And BricsCAD can support that at a very reasonable price point. Now, obviously, the big thing was the forced subscription cost model from Autodesk. So if I would have looked at the cost comparison, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, it really wasn't that clear cut. But if you look at now, you have a perpetual license in the range of $550 versus rental for $1,000. It becomes a much more compelling financial argument. So that's what's drawn me more into Bricsys, and the comparison is very favorable, no doubt.
Excellent. But as Eric says, we have 72 million drawing-based CAD users out there that we want to convert, and it's great to have you on the team because I'm not sure if you can do all 72 million, but we'll try to get you in front of his 50. And Steve Johnson will pick up the rest of them. We've got to get that badge back to that guy. The third gentleman, thank you, Robert. The third gentleman who joined us today is my friend Vince Amon. Vince has his own consulting company, VEA Consulting. This guy was writing Lisp routines 30 years ago.
I know I don't feel that old, but I am.
Well, I know you were 10 at the time. When I first met him, and he, like me, spent many years at Autodesk and working for Autodesk resellers, and now you've basically built a company around customizing applications on BricsCAD.
Yeah, I'm finding more and more folks are looking to, well, and I'm in both products every day, unfortunately. But I have to write applications that work in both platforms. And so what folks are doing is asking me to translate what they've got, their Johnny CAD systems or their custom applications into Bricsys and BricsCAD. And so it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. And like I said, I have to work in both environments. And it's really interesting because I find myself making comparisons almost daily, like, oh, I wish this worked better over here. And I shared this with some of the other folks. You ask why, and I look at these products and I go, okay, if I were to step into this today and look at both of the products without knowing any history or anything that was going on before, I'd have a hard time telling you that BricsCAD is actually, more or less the replacement. It almost, to me, feels like it is more stable, it's faster, it has more options, it feels like it's the real thing, and the other thing that I work in, unfortunately, feels like it's the duplicate. So it's really interesting. All the things that have had to do with it in the last year have really, I've really enjoyed working in the environment, and I keep looking for reasons to stay there.
As long as I have you, you made some comments about performance, and one of the things you said to me was a routine that you'd run multiple times against a given data set ran tens of times faster in BricsCAD.
Yeah, I've done a lot of data translations, a lot of conversions for different folks, and it's interesting just to see the performance. And I want to do some videos, side by side, because what happens in one environment is just sometimes it's like so fast. I'm like, wow. And and that's one thing. If you have customers or clients or people that you're trying to convince, that one thing alone, just performance. If you can get in and say, okay, try this in your current environment and just try it in BricsCAD and come back and tell me what you think. The performance is amazing.
Awesome. Thank you. And we didn't pay him for that either, by the way. So I guess we'll come back to Mikhail and ask the things you saw today. And the assumption, of course, is he's an architect, and so BIM was the thing, but maybe not. Tell us a little bit more about what you saw today that really caught your eye.
Yeah, I think what really caught my eye was something that happened pretty early today. I think when Eric presented the commitment and kind of the vision for where BricsCAD is heading, I think that was the most important part for me, because I think for my company, we run all our workstations and some virtual machines as well. And we use BricsCAD a lot, so it's important for us to know that if we invest, the money is not the most important part, but the time it takes to learn a workflow, it's important that it will be around for us, keep supporting us. So I think that's very important. And I also think, we saw a lot about BricsCAD BIM today, and I was pretty early in working with BIM workflows. I used ArchiCAD early in my career, and then one of my former employees, they were the first company in Sweden to go big with Revit. So I did some of the first projects in Sweden in Revit. And it always kind of disturbed me that there was a huge gap in between design and turning the projects into reality in the last phase of the projects. And I think BricsCAD BIM, we have seen a big future set today, and I think that's kind of a promise that if you dare to go with this software, it can do a lot of stuff. But I think the most important thing is the simplicity or the very simple basics that you can, because I dare to say that architecture is always done before BIM starts. It's done in hand sketches, in physical models, simple 2D sketches, illustrations, workshops, where you talk about value and the concept of the project. And to be able to begin in that end by doing 2D sketches, extruding them into solids, and then at a later phase say that, okay, the contractor wants us to do the construction drawings and generate them from a BIM model to then just convert our early models and our, for example, building permit drawings into a BIM model. That's what we want to do. And there's always a frustration as well when the BIM workflow is too complicated, because it means that you will have to hand the project on from the designers who have followed the project from the very beginning, and then you will have to hand it to Team B, who are specialists at this BIM software, and they will have to finalize the design. And I mean, it's not desirable. That's not what we want to do. We want to follow the project from the initiation into the finished product or the built building. So.
Well, without giving away too much, we have something we're going to show you in about 45 minutes or so that I think you'll really like. So one more thing.
Sounds good.
One more thing. Well, just one more thing. Mr. Greene.
So when I always have to think about how am I going to manage this stuff for the client, or if I've got 80 users yelling at me. And some of the things that I always know that cost me a lot of money is training, the admin, installation, and support of different software. So one of the things that really struck me earlier on was, here I am in an AutoCAD file, I'm push-pulling editing, in native DWG. I never had to leap out and go anywhere else. I never had to export. I never had to pull it into any sort of a clash detection tool, and the speed of the clash detection in that was astonishing. That really made me take note. I wrote that real large on my pad of paper. And the other thing is, if you save users time, obviously time is money. So from an admin point of view, the less time I spend managing different pieces of software, the less time I spend teaching people different interfaces. If people can get things done in 3 minutes that used to take 12, it all adds up. And you could even make the argument that the software could cost more, right? Because if you're saving time, the ROI will justify itself, but the fact that you've got the perpetual licensing and a favorable cost thing is just the cherry on top. I don't know if that translates well. And by the way, apologies for the stark American accent.
Not as bad as mine. Vince.
I took like 20 pages of notes already, and I kept trying to think about what I'm watching up on the screen. And you and I have been to tons of conferences and seen tons of software, and I'm looking at it going, I'm looking at one product, but I've been to other conferences where I'm seeing tons of different products to show what I just saw this morning and today. And so you think about, you asked me which feature, I'm like, D, all the above. Everything I saw, I was like, I could apply that and that in either different things that I've been asked to do. And it's funny, this drawing compare tool that I saw, I've struggled with that. In fact, I had a client ask me to write a drawing compare tool, and I'm like, how am I going to do that? And I was thinking about it. It was on my list of things to do, and now I can scratch that off. I don't have to do it. Yay! But I've struggled with that myself, and I'm looking at it going, this thing sat here for days sometimes trying to analyze 2 files and came up with results that weren't even legible or didn't work. And I've tried other third-party drawing compare tools that didn't work either. And so though everything I saw is like, I can use that. Or in my personal life, I do lots of 3D printing, and I'm doing solid modelings, and I'm looking at, wow, I don't have to change environments, and I can push and pull and remove fillets, and I'm like all excited now to go back and start. I know which models I need to modify or update to print for my kids. So those are things I'm looking at. But it's really cool to see everything that we're seeing and know that it's not in 10 different products that we're having to buy or purchase or load or install. Just from the simplicity of the user and the end user that you have to support, it's one product. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Well, gentlemen, I wish we could go on. We have some new technologies we want to show you, and then we're going to finish the day off with a pretty amazing demonstration, and of course the party tonight. So I just want to thank all of you for taking the time to come up here, and that's a good one. That's a good shot. Not often you get that shot, right? Give these guys a hand. This is awesome.